Rob Brown Show. Get robbed! Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Rob Brown Show is on your radio on a Friday. Welcome in, my friends. It is great to be with you once again. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well all around the upstate. My name is Rob Brown. Out today. Well, not out. I mean, I'm obviously here. Out of the upstate. I'm down on the beaches of Florida this weekend. Came to do a little celebrating with the friends and family. I know last week was Memorial Day. I know last week was the big travel day. But you know what? I had people to go hang out with. I got places to go. I got people to see, things to do. So I'm down in the Sunshine State of Florida today. However, through the wizardry of technology, still joining you because of course I am, because I like my job. It's fun. We get to talk about basketball and make money for it. How bad could my life possibly be? Back in the network studio, the guy that's working hard to enable me to come down here and party on the beach, yet still bring you the award-winning production that we bring you every single day. He is the professor of perfection, the wizard of wave, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate. Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the content cash cow, the conductor of the symphony of sound that is this show, the great one, Lonzo, as at the.
I just learned I'm an enabler. I don't know how I feel about that. That's okay. All right. If I'm enabling greatness, then that means I'm a part of that greatness. We got one. Time to get another one. Or dynasty, as they say across the pond.
If you join us on the stream, you will notice that the backdrop behind me today is I am actually broadcasting live from the Casa de Madre at the mom's house down here in beautiful sunny Pensacola, Florida. Not exactly as scenic as it traditionally is, not exactly as decorated as it usually is, because I'm stuck in a closet right now.
So you don't see it. You don't see your shadow.
Oh no, I do.
Because dude, your shadow is blue.
Here's my option.
It's wicked. It's like an aura coming off of your shirt.
My other option is no light at all, right? So because I'm an influencer, I have a ring light. I also, Lonzo, have the ability to change the color of the ring light to give myself multiple. I could technically do the show with a strobe if I wanted to. I am an influencer now.
Yeah, don't do the strobe because we'll have to put a warning across the bottom. You don't want to do that.
But worry not, friends. The show will be as good as it ever is. Although I do have to tell you, it is of course just 8 a.m. here in Central Standard Time. So the 5:30 alarm clock to get up and put my life together this AM, not a fan.
So when the alarm clock goes off, does it go alarm, alarm, alarm?
Ha. Zoe's got jokes.
You can't reach me from there, so I'm good.
Zoe's got jokes. It is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We tend to get a little bit weird on a Friday, and we are absolutely going to be having a little fun on the radio broadcast today. Last night, we ended up watching the Boston Celtics. How about it, ladies and gentlemen? A 120-108 victory on behalf of the Beantown Celtics yesterday evening. And, it's funny to say because I called Warriors in 6, right? I said Warriors in 6. 6 if they didn't get it done in 5. And I was working under the assumption the Warriors were going to start this series 2-0 at home. I did not think that Beantown was going to be able to go into San Fran and get a dub out of the gate. But not only did they do that, Lonzo, but they did it by playing Golden State's game. They beat them at their own game. They beat them with a lot of small ball. They beat them from behind the arc. They beat them with a bunch of pick and rolls. They beat them by taking away the most potent weapons. I mean, Steph Curry had a really hot start to the basketball game, but late in the game, Boston started to lock down Clay and Steph with that number one defense in the National Basketball Association and started to say, if you are going to beat us, it's going to be Draymond Green that does it. We're going to make Draymond take threes. We're going to make the big guys take threes. We're going to make, Looney shoot. We're going to make the big guys shoot and figure out how to beat us. Looney, 4 points. Draymond, 4 points. Draymond was 2 of 12 from the floor, 0 of 4 from deep. Looney was just 1 of 4 from the floor, no three-pointers efforted. Steph Curry still shot 50%, or just a tick under, 12 of 25 from the floor and 7 of 14 from deep. But there wasn't really anybody else with the exception of Andrew Wiggins, who was 8 of 15 from the floor, so better than 50%, but also lifted up 7 threes and made only 2 of them. They got very little help off of the bench. Otto Porter Jr. did return in this game, 12 points on 4 of 5 from the floor, 4 of 5 from Trey. So you got a little help from him, but I mean, you got 4 threes out of him, and that was it. Outside of that, not much going on off the bench. Belica, 1 of 1 from behind the arc. Iguodala was 3 of 4 for 7 points. You got 9 out of Jordan Poole, but on just 2 of 7 from the floor, 1 of 5 from deep. Golden State, again, not terrible numbers. 19 of 45, just a touch under 43% from deep. They were 39 of 88, 44.3% from the floor. It's not like they had the world's worst night, but Boston shot better than 50% from deep. They shot 21 of 41. They were better than 50% from the floor, 43 of 85 from field goal range. And they had guys step up off the bench to help out. They had last night Al Horford, 26 points, 9 of 12 from the floor, 6 of 8 from deep. Jaylen Brown, 10 of 23, 2 of 8 from deep, 24 points for Jaylen. Jason Tatum didn't help at all, 3 of 17 from the floor, 1 of 5 from deep for a total of 12 points. But when it came down to it, Zoe, Boston did to Golden State everything that I thought Golden State was going to do to Boston. They were knocking down their threes. They shot well from the floor. Phenomenal shot selection, especially in a fourth quarter where they overcame a decent-sized deficit, a deficit that I was driving home last night. And so I was listening to this game on the radio on the way down. And when Golden State ran up that third quarter deficit, I thought to myself, once again, Rob Brown proves his genius. Once again, the call was exactly right. And then Boston in the fourth quarter decided to become a different team. I got to tell you, Lonzo, I am far less confident in my Warriors take this easy 4-2 prediction than I was 12 hours ago when that game was getting tipped off. I don't know, man. Like, Boston just hit a different gear. And like I said, sometimes the best way to beat somebody is at their own game, right? They prepare for everything else, but they don't prepare to face their own game. Boston played Golden State basketball, and ordinarily that's a death sentence, right? Like, play your game, come up with your own game, play it. The thing was, they still did that. They still played good defense. They started to make the ball come out of the hands of Clay Ingram, out of the hands of Steph Curry, into the hands of Wiggins, into the hands of Draymond. And when Golden State had to start finding guys not named Curry to knock down clutch shots, they could not do it. The Boston Celtics, Lonzo, did everything correct last night.
Well, early on, it looked like it was going to be exactly what you said. It looked like the way Steph was hitting his threes in the first quarter, but then things definitely turned around in the fourth quarter, and I loved how you're not the only one who was a little surprised hearing the post-game show, Stephen A. and those guys, because they all picked Golden State to win. But I do want to, even though Golden State lost, I do want to congratulate Steph because he stepped up last night. He put away the binky. It's not easy when the passy, when it's time to move on from the passy, but he did. Graduated to the pull-ups, got a certificate, and moved up to the next grade. And proud of him for that. Good for you, Steph.
I got to tell you, Steph Curry last night, like I said, I mean, started off the game hot. He came out gunning. He came out looking like, well, Steph Curry, as Steph Curry is supposed to. Knocked down a handful of threes early. At one point, in the second quarter, the Warriors built up not just built up a 10-point lead, but looked like they were going to go on a run. But once they built up that 10-point lead, Boston just started chipping away. They did not try to play exceptional basketball. They just tried to play Boston basketball. They did not try to force anything. They did not try to start hammering down a torrent of threes in order to catch up. And that's one of the things that, we talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, that one of the weaknesses of the Golden State Warriors in relying on Steph and Clay to knock down a bunch of threes is the old adage of live by the sword, die by the sword. If you put yourself in a position where you are trying to make up chunks of points by knocking down threes, on days those threes stop going, if you are going to be a good team, you have got to be able to come up with another offense, right? You have got to be able to do something different when the shots just aren't falling. Who was it? I can't remember, Lonzo, who it was. It wasn't Golden State, but there was a team in either the second round. Oh, no, it was Dallas. It was the Dallas Mavericks who got to a point where they were in a hole, and instead of locking down on defense, right? There's two ways to come back from a deficit like Boston was in last night. Option number one is you go out there and you shoot 55% from the three-point line and you catch up a point at a time by limiting their threes. Option two is you slap the damn hardwood, you get down into a defensive position, you protect the rim, you decrease their field goal percentage, and you start making your deficit up field goal by field goal. That's what Boston did, right? They started making sure that the guys that were hot were getting locked down by the best defense in basketball. They started making sure that the guys that were hot were not getting high percentage shot selections. They were having to work to get off low percentage prayers, basically. And when they got the ball on their end of the court, they just played basketball. They played basketball, a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of ball movement, a lot of passes. There was one possession where it got to the point where I thought the play-by-play announcer was going to pass out because of how many passes that he was trying to acknowledge on the air before Boston eventually worked it down into the paint, eventually worked it down inside to Robert Williams III for an easy layup because Draymond came across. He came across in a help defense to prevent the long-range three because, again, that's what the Warriors know, right? They know it's get it to Ingram, get him to Steph, make room on the outside, create opportunity on the outside. And they played as if Boston was going to do the same thing. So Draymond slid over on help side defense, ready to help protect against the three or the dribble drive down the baseline off the three. He came back door. It was a one pass back up to the free throw line, another quick pass inside to Williams. Williams went up with the high percentage shot from point blank range. Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics deserve credit, Lonzo, because coming back by three-pointer, coming back and trying to put death by 1,000 cuts on a team is a good way to do it if you got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins out there. It's a really bad way to do it if you're anybody else. And the Boston Celtics instead just took away the high percentage shot selection from Steph and Klay, force guys like Draymond and Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole to come off the bench and make up those points. And while there were a couple of Warriors that had a decent game, at the end of the day, the Warriors did not know how to handle it when Boston took away their thing and made them play consistent basketball. They didn't know what the hell to do with that.
And it really took Boston 3 quarters to figure it out. And once they figured it out in the fourth, that was it. Now the question is, going forward, can Steve Kerr and Golden State make some adjustments to where that doesn't happen to them again? Because if the Celtics can play that way an entire game, this could be a sweep for Boston. Probably not going to be, but it could be.
Oh no, listen, the Warriors are too damn good to get swept. All right, I don't care. I mean, I'm not even saying that I'm walking away from, oh, it's definite they win the series. I still think they do, right? Upsets happen, but as a gambling guy, the Vegas line was Golden State minus 190. That makes them, Lonzo, almost a 2-1 favorite. Were Golden State. They're still heavily favored, right? Even down a hole, even down one in the hole, there are still Vegas lines that you have to give money. You have to go negative money in order to pick Golden State. They're still a really good basketball team with infinitely more finals experience than the Boston Celtics, right? Some of these guys on the Celtics team were like in middle and elementary school the last time Boston was in the finals. This Golden State team has been to 6 of 8 with consistent players. They know what it's like to be in this spot. Do not write off Golden State. It was one game. And Lonzo, as we've seen in the NBA, look back to the last series between Boston and Miami, right? We write off Boston after game 1 because Miami trounced them. Come back, Boston trounces Miami game 2. Come back, Miami trounces Boston game 3. Come back, Boston trounces Miami game 4. It's the NBA. And on top of that, statistically speaking, Golden State had a really bad night, right? A really bad night. Again, the numbers don't jump off the page as awful. 44% from the floor, 42 and a chunk percent from 3. They're not terrible numbers from Golden State. They're not terrible numbers, and that was Golden State's worst night, like since the Memphis series, right? I wouldn't get in a panic. I wouldn't worry about it. It's still Golden State. It's still Steph Curry. At some point, the shots are going to fall. The only problem they have is now they got to go to Boston, and now they got to go to Boston and win too. I don't think, even with home court advantage in 5, 6, and 7, I do not think that Golden State wants to come back to San Francisco after game 4 anything worse than 3-1. Problem is now they got to string 3 really good games back to back, including a pair on the road. This is not going to be fun for Golden State. They made a massive mistake last night by allowing Boston to beat them at their own game. But again, just so we're abundantly clear about this, Lonzo, I'm very impressed with the Boston Celtics. They did not panic. They did not roll over. They did not get scared or intimidated by the finals experience. They did not allow Draymond to push them around. They did not allow Steph to freak them out by shooting a ton of threes and making them early in the game. They never panicked. They never got out of sorts. They knew their game plan. They came in, they executed it, and they beat the Golden State Warriors.
And the other thing is, this is a team that's definitely capable of winning this whole thing. And now you've given them even more confidence. Now that they've won 1 in San Francisco, if they win 2, this thing is over.
Oh, yeah.
If they beat them twice, if they win, I think it's Sunday. Man, what a jump. Thursday to Sunday?
I'll tell you this. If the Boston Celtics win game 2, if they go into San Fran and steal both games from the Warriors, I'm going to go ahead and call that the biggest shock in the NBA Finals in years. Since when? I don't even know. If Boston goes to Golden State and takes 2 in a row and decimates home court advantage and sets themselves up to go back and play in Boston, because again, you and I both know that as proud and energetic as the Celtics fans are to be back in the NBA Finals, Boston is going to be ridiculous. And that's not to say Golden State was not last night. San Francisco is a hype place to play basketball when Steph was knocking down threes early, you heard that, right? Like you heard how loud it got inside the Oracle Center. But Boston is going to do the same thing. The TD Warehouse, Boston Gardens, whatever it's called, is going to be a terrifying place to play either way. But damn sure if the Boston Celtics come back to Beantown up 2-0, Golden State has got to figure it out in the next game. And by it, I mean, how do we play our game around the Boston defense? And I got some thoughts on that I'm going to share with you coming up later on in the show. Also coming up later on in the show, we are rapidly approaching the debut event of the LIV Tour, the Saudi Arabian-backed golf tour. And, of course, the biggest name on that tour is from right here in the state of South Carolina, and the attention being given to him is not great right now. So I'm going to tell you what the comments are about Colombia's own coming up later on in the radio broadcast. I've got a few more other stories I want to get into as well. I teased it yesterday, but we ran out of time. Found out this past week exactly who the attorneys are that are representing John Gruden in his suit against the National Football League. And let me just tell you, I promise you that Roger Goodell is super not thrilled about exactly who it is representing him. Talk about that. We got some more updates on the Deshaun Watson case. For those of you still interested in that, I've got some more information and more. It is going to be a busy day on the radio broadcast today, but I hope you'll stick with us. The phone line is open, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FAN-FONE. You can also text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN. We read them on the air. We, ladies and gentlemen, are back after this. You are listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Prisma. I'll leave Rob muted a little bit until he comes back in because, don't know what's going on down the hallway. Nothing. I mean, he may be close to the restroom. I wasn't meaning anything weird. Everybody ready for the weekend? I am. Because I am nearly on vacation. And I got that antsy, I'm almost on vacation thing. Yeah, I still got a show tomorrow night, but that's a vacation every week. But so I'm just kind of antsy. And time's going slowly. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself.
Are you doing the show from the vacation, from the beach, or are you coming in studio and leaving after?
Oh no, I'm doing the show. We're not leaving until Sunday.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I gotta put that in. Right back.
I rarely miss an Upstate Pulse because right now I don't have anyone to do it without me. But I'm working on that.
You're working on your own replacement?
Well, no, I'm working on someone who can cover if I can't be there. We're all going to be replaced someday. I mean,
The robots are coming, Lonzo.
No, I'm just thinking of someone with better hair. But
Would you like to explain to Steven the greatness of the Upstate Pulse?
No, because we're coming back. We have to wait.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon. Upstate.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello to you, and how do you do, all you gorgeous, good-looking people? It is phenomenal to be with you. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, back in the network studios. I'm down on the beautiful sunshine-filled beaches of Pensacola, Florida, as I spend a little time with the fam this weekend. NBA Finals, we got into those a little bit in the last segment. I want your thoughts. I want your comments. How much trouble is Golden State in right now? How much trouble are the Warriors in, especially if they can't figure it out in Game 2? I mean, look, it's easy to sit here and talk about hypothetically if they lose Game 2. And if hypothetically they lose Game 2, they are in deep, real deep, up that one particular creek that has a TV show named after it, and without a paddle if they lose Game 2. But again, they're the Golden State Warriors, right? They've been here. They've been in the finals. This moment. And by the way, let's not forget, while we talk about Boston, and Boston deserves an immense amount of credit for what they were able to do. But let's not forget that this was maybe the best postseason game of the Boston Celtics so far. This was the best that they have looked. I thought about it when I got here yesterday evening, because like I said, I was driving through the game, listening to it on the radio. And so when I got here last night and I popped on Sports Center to catch up on whatever I missed out on, and they were talking about how efficient Boston's offense was, and it very much was. When I went back and thought about the road that the Celtics have taken to get here, they have had some good nights, and they have blown out teams. I mean, they blew out Miami a couple of times in that last series, but I think, Lonzo, last night was the best postseason performance of the Boston Celtics, because some of those blowouts, Boston played really well, but there were nights that Miami looked like garbage, right? There were nights that I came in the next day and said, the Miami Heat do not deserve to be here. They do not deserve to be here. This was, I think, the absolute best that the Boston Celtics have looked in this postseason, period. They were on a different level, and credit to Brad Stevens. And by the way, credit to everybody who's not Jason Tatum, right? This is supposed to be a two-star team. This is supposed to be a team that Jalen and Jason carry. It is supposed to, as go the J and J, go the Boston Celtics. But they did not get a stellar performance out of Jason Tatum last night. 3 of 17, 1 of 5 from deep. Ended up with a total of 5 rebounds. He did have 13 assists on the night, plus 16 in the plus-minus metric. But it's not like Jason Tatum had a great game. He had a very pedestrian game with 12 points last night, and they still looked good in the win anyway. Why? Because when their superstar is slowed up, they had Al Horford. By the way, how good do you feel for Al Horford, right? Like, how good do you feel for Al Horford in a time in the National Basketball Association where it seems like, it feels like we predominantly and maybe sometimes only focus on the top tier of superstars, the Kevin Durant's and the LeBron Jameses and the Steph Currys of the world. Al Horford is a 5-time All-Star. Al Horford is a guy that is closer to 40 than 30. Al Horford is a guy who has been doing it a very long time. And at a point last night where Al Horford maybe should have been an afterthought to a lot of people, when Jason Tatum could not find the bottom of the bucket, Al Horford stepped in and had himself a night. +9 on the plus-minus metric. But here's what's crazy. When he was going into his last couple of shifts in the fourth quarter, he was sitting around 0 on the plus-minus metrics. All of that production came late in the game. All of that production came during the blitz that the Celtics put on to overcome the deficit the Warriors put them in. There's a balance for me, Lonzo, between finding teams that I want to pull for and finding players that I want to pull for. It is hard for me not to pull for Al Horford to get his first ring, even if it comes at the expense of Steph Curry, because that dude has gotten very little praise for what Boston is doing, has gotten very little recognition for his contributions in these playoffs. And last night, when one of their 2 Jays could not step up and hit one of those, Al Horford took over that game with his 26 on 9 of 12 from the floor, 6 of 8 from deep. Marcus Smart, same thing. Everybody talked about Marcus Smart's defense, and Marcus Smart's got to lock down the D and make sure Steph Curry isn't able to get his. 7-11 from the floor, 4 of 11 deep for 18 points. Last night, the Boston Celtics won, Zoe, because of the unsung heroes of that team. And that's the kind of stuff that gets me involved with your team.
You know, you talked about the inexperience for the Celtics. That's what's so cool about Horford, because he's been around for a long time, and he's been a really good player. He's never been mentioned as, the top star anywhere, but he's a dependable, and he's a guy, you mentioned how many All-Star games, and he's a good guy to lean on, especially in the end when someone needs to come through, and that's what he did. It's pretty cool seeing someone older do that, but it's cool seeing anyone older do that. And he came through, and I really enjoyed it. This was a competitive game, and it did look like for a while that Golden State was going to run away from it with it, and then the Celtics just kept staying right there, and that's what they've done the entire finals. Pretty much, they stay right there. Sometimes they get blown out in the fourth, but they were able to come through, and Horford was a big part about that. I don't know about him posing in the end, because you ain't won the whole thing yet. If you want to do the Hulk Hogan pose down at the end, that's fine. Do it after you're getting ready to raise the trophy.
Yeah, Al Horford came out of the game last night late, and again, I love it. But just remember that if you lose this series, it is going to become a legacy. Al Horford came out of that game last night in the fourth, and as he made his way to the bench, he turned to the Golden State crowd and started blowing them kisses on his way out of the game. Now, at this point, this was end of the fourth quarter. The last minute and a half or so, the bench is emptied, right? Both coaches started sending in their reserves to get them the extra garbage time because the game had been decided at that point. Al Horford walking to the bench, blowing kisses to the Warriors fans. Just keep in mind, Al, and again, I like you. I'm in your corner. I'm a fan of the journeyman. who figures out a way to get it done. Just remember, though, if you find a way to come back and lose this series, especially if you find a way to come back and lose this series 4-1 or 4-2, and game 1 was the only defining moment for Boston, that is going to be the image that sticks with you for a very, very long time. But when Al Horford came out and did what he did last night and dropped 26 and went +9 and contributed quite a bit to this team, when he walked off and was blowing kisses to the C's or to the Dubs fans, you better believe I loved it. You better believe I loved it, because you have now gotten to them a little bit. And one thing that I would always be saying if I was Brad Stevens was, I want you to agitate Golden State, right? I want you to agitate them. I want you in their heads. I want you to get to a point where Draymond Green tries to actively commit manslaughter on you on the court. I want to be so deep in that guy's head that we see his childhood memories. I want him freaking out and losing his mind like he did against Memphis. I want you deep in Steph Curry's head. I want you to try to cause doubt in a guy that doesn't seem to have ever doubted himself. I want you deep in Clay's head. I want Clay asking the question, can I still do this, right? Because Boston is running me right now, and I need you in the head of the young guys. I need you in the head of the Andrew Wiggins of the world, and make them ask, am I good enough to be here right now? Boston did that last night, but as you pointed out a minute ago, Lonzo, if they give back game 2 to Golden State, and if Golden State comes out and runs them, because Boston had the best performance of the playoffs and they do not follow it out, if Golden State comes back and runs Boston in game number 2, it's going to be a problem for the Celtics, like a big problem.
And I'm just picturing Draymond throwing up the gun show, because he will, to answer that. But one thing about Horford blowing kisses, he didn't do it at the players. He did it at the fans. So if you do it at the players, that's different.
Oh, look, I'm good with it, right? I mean, if you're going to turn around and blow kisses to the bad guys, you also have to expect that the bad guys are going to be coming out absolutely swinging the next game. To do it at the Dub fans, that's just trash talk, baby. That's just smack talk.
But now that I think about it a little bit more, that's actually Boston's game anyway. So if you get them to come down to your level, then you're beating them mentally as well as on the court. So,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right. We'll talk more NBA Finals later on in the radio broadcast. But let's go ahead and run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we talked about it just a bit yesterday, but the Rock Hill facility of the Carolina Panthers, S. Nomos, David Tepper's real estate company that was in charge of that project, has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which means that project is now officially dead. I said yesterday on Facebook, when I put up the highlight of that segment, if you missed it, go to facebook.com/thefanupstate. But I said yesterday on Facebook, this to me is an illustration that Tepper is absolutely willing to take his ball club and go home. And the response I got from listeners on Facebook kind of shocked me a little bit. So I'll address that when we come back. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo is at the board, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show. This is The Fan Upstate.
Upstate.
Somebody just texted me. One of my friends just texted me and said, "You look like you're being held hostage." I need to go to get a copy of today's newspaper to hold up. I can't hear you.
Yeah, well.
There you are.
If I actually push buttons for a living, if someone comes peeking through that door, that closet door, then we got a problem.
That's just a face.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Lad says, good morning. Good morning, Lad D. Welcome in, buddy. Great to have you. Rocking the Beantown logo. I like it. Good win for your C's last night. All right. I'm going to run and grab a water while you explain to Steven what the Upstate Pulse is.
I'm not sure I can do that, but I'm going to try.
I believe in you.
Steven, explained it pretty well. What it is all those things that you're looking at your social media and you go, oh, what is that? Let me check that out. That's pretty much what we talk about. Plus video games, the latest streaming things, a bunch of nerd things, and just a goofball good time on a Saturday night. If you can't find it, Upstate Pulse is on Facebook. We're also broadcasting on YouTube and on Twitch and on 106.3 WORD if you are in the upstate area. Been working on finishing. We're halfway through our 7th year. So, and I have been on that station 106.3 WORD for 22 years. It's Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m. While you're out going somewhere doing something, you can listen to us and we'll get you where you're going. And we're always live. So there's that. Unless there's a certain Saturday in August when it's not live. That certain Saturday in August is when we go to Columbia and get trophies. And Rob Brown shows up on that show every once in a while.
Every once in a while, like next Saturday.
Tomorrow night, we're going to be spoiling like crazy the latest episode of Obi-Wan. So,
for good reason.
Oh, yes.
So for what we talked about yesterday on the way out?
Yes, for sure. We're going to go in depth on that.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Steven says, but where and when is it played, the show?
It is good, isn't it, Keegan? It is so good.
Steven, to answer your question, it is on 106.3 FM WORD, our sister news talk station.
It's a brother station. Come on, man.
Brother. Yeah, I actually watched Obi-Wan Wednesday night, and es muy bueno.
We got about a minute.
I am apparently on the afternoon show yesterday. They asked, like, what would you want to hear? Like, what would you want to have added to the show? And like, all the things people were suggesting were things we talk about on this show.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I wished everybody would have called in and said, or
wrestling.
Wrestling.
Yes.
Need more wrestling on this program.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Steven says, will we hear from Rob's mom, nephew, or the dog first today? Oh, the dog. Without a doubt, it's the dog. Dog's like a 3-1 favorite in that race.
Keegan, you do know that's him, though. That's him in the costume. So you are kind of seeing him.
I'd assume at some point we will, right? Like, I'd assume at some point we will.
Well, here's what I think. Maybe because Ahsoka's coming out pretty soon, maybe a flashback. Maybe we actually see those two together. Although they can make her look younger.
I was going to say, I thought about that, but like Ahsoka and Anakin would have been together when they were both significantly younger than they are now.
Yep. Make the fan upstate a favorite.
Come back.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Thank you for spending your time with us. I am Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo is back at the network studios. So, yesterday we talked a little bit about the latest big news out of the Carolina Panthers. And that news, obviously, is that David Tepper's real estate firm or company or whatever has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, corporate bankruptcy. That literally killed the Rock Hill facility off. It's not happening now. The Rock Hill facility is no mas after that. So yesterday, for those of you who do not check our social media, and please do, at the Fan Upstate on all the social medias, at the Fan Upstate on Twitter and Facebook.com/thefanupstate. I went yesterday and I posted, for those of you that don't check our social media, after the show, I go and I post highlight segments. We post all 3 hours in entirety, and then I go back and I post highlight clips from the show. I go back and post our best 3 or 4 or 5 segments from the day. Yesterday, posted the interview we did with Cody Decker, my co-host on Saturday, my nationally syndicated baseball gambling show, Bet for the Cycle. I posted that segment. I posted a segment about the match, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And we take those segments, and what we do is we edit them down, right? We edit them down. So instead of a full 12-minute segment, what you'll get is a 7 or 8 minute segment with the silence cut out of it so that you can take chunks of it. Well, I posted yesterday an edited version of the segment we did about David Tepper and the Panthers and the Rock Hill facility being, again, no mas. Title Rock Hill is not a thing. Could the Panthers leave Charlotte next? Because, and I'll give you the nuts and bolts version, my take on it was 2 months ago when the fight over the Rock Hill facility and, more importantly, the funding of it came up in the Carolina newspapers, I said, I got bad news for you Panthers fans. And the bad news for you here is that this argument from David Tepper is going to be the same thing that you are going to get when he is ready to bail from BOA, when he is ready to leave the bank, when he's ready for a new stadium. He is going to want, despite possessing $16.1 billion with a B dollars, he's going to want folks in Charlotte and the state of North Carolina to pay for it. And nationally, we have seen a movement away from communities being willing to fork over the majority of construction costs of new stadiums and arenas for professional sports teams owned by billionaires. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be more professional franchises that move in the next few years. It is not the primary reason that they are now the Las Vegas Raiders, but it's a big one. It is not the primary reason that the Golden State Warriors now play in the Bay and not in Oakland, but it is a big one. It is not the primary reason that the St. Louis Rams are now the LA Rams, but it is the biggest reason. It's not the biggest, or it's not the only reason that the San Diego Chargers are now the LA Chargers, but it is a big one, right? More teams are going to move, and I just think that at this point, it almost feels inevitable that the Panthers are next. But what really got me was some of the comments that we got on the Facebook page when I posted that article. Now, there were a few that were pretty level-headed. One of them was from our own P1 Trey, who pops into the Facebook chat every day. He said, what's so troubling for me as a fan is that I believe what you said could happen. The Charlotte Hornets were a very popular team back in the day. Then George Shinn moved the team despite the team's popularity. It basically ruined my interest in the NBA when I was young. I really don't want to lose, pardon me, another local team. And that's a reasonable take, right? I get that. And I'm glad George Shinn moved the Hornets because the Hornets became the New Orleans Hornets, ultimately the Pelicans, and I've got an NBA team now. But at the time, you didn't know if the Charlotte Hornets were coming back to Charlotte, so I get why you feel that way. But there were a lot of reasons that Charlotte left Charlotte and went to New Orleans. But then there were other comments that came in on the Facebook page. Cody Robinson said, quote, if the Panthers leave, I'll be fully done with the NFL. Richard Surratt chimed in. He said, and I quote, who cares? Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Byron Rogers chimed in. He said, good riddance. Bill Shelley chimed in and said, and I quote, screw the Panthers, end quote. And my favorite of all, Jason Webb chimed in, and Jason simply put the gif of Curly Bill from Tombstone saying, well, bye, which was a phenomenal use of one of the greatest scenes of one of the greatest movies ever made. And I think what took me aback about this, and I understand that people who call the radio station, text the radio station, and comment on the radio station's Facebook page are like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the people who listen. They tell us when you come up in this job that you can expect about 1% of the people who listen to you to ever call you. And frankly, I think that number is a little high. But what I did find interesting, though, was that the majority of people who reacted to that segment, whether it was live yesterday on the text line or as a response to social media posts, not a lot of love for the Carolina Panthers, which, listen, I know we're in a college football town. I'm not disillusioned by the fact that Greenville County is college football territory. NFL territory are basically the 32 NFL cities, and it's college ball pretty much everywhere else. But I was surprised, Lonzo, by how much vitriol was pointed at the Panthers organization based on a hypothetical that I reached because of some real life unrelated stuff. I know there's Panthers fans around the upstate because I see the gear all the time, but my goodness, the anti-Panthers people have no problem coming out of the woodworks to let you know that they're anti-Panthers people.
Well, I'm curious about those people. Are they fans of other teams? Because a lot of times that's the kind of things you're going to get. Those are Cowboys fans or, Pittsburgh fans or something like that. So it's not their team, so they'll go ahead and diss it. More than likely, that's probably what it is. It could be some of those college people who believe that the NFL doesn't exist. I don't understand them, but they're out there. I've had conversations with them, so that could be some of it too. But I think more than likely it's just guys who root for another team.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, it was very, very interesting to me that there was one comment of, I hope they don't leave, it will ruin my interest. There was one comment of, I'd be sad to see them go. And every other comment was, screw them. I don't care. I'm done. I'm not watching anyway. I found that interesting. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. When we come back, Kevin Durant and me, we agree on something. I know. I was also shocked. Back after this for hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Let's see. Lance says, I got to say, I'm sure you're much higher on the interaction rate ever since you were here in Northwest Florida. You've always promoted a great interactive experience. I said yesterday, we did a whole segment yesterday on I want people to be involved with the show. Hang on one second for me. Be right back. I'll say it when we come back. I got a question.
Ooh, a question.
Trey says, I have my thoughts on why these people said what they said about the Panthers, but Mama said if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I think Lonzo is correct about them being fans of other teams like the Cowboys, Steelers, and probably the Patriots.
Oh, no.
That sounded bad.
Yeah. I think there was a error with saving the podcast.
Uh-oh.
That out of space error, which just didn't show up.
It gave me that the other day. I saved it anyway, and it still worked. So
yeah, me too. But
Okay.
it's just like a long line of,
yeah.
and yeah, that's weird. It looked fine when I did it. I don't know. What the? All right, so I'm gonna have to pull the podcast from the skimmer. So
Cool.
yeah, not really.
No, yeah, it was very sarcastic. Cool.
So stupid.
Ladies.
Oh, God.
That's all I got.
Oh, God.
That's weird.
Solid hour. Just put that up as a podcast.
I am going on vacation.
Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan. CBS Sports Radio. An Odyssey station. Warning.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Get robbed. Only on
The Fan. Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Live from the sunny beaches of Pensacola, Florida. I am Rob Brown, back in the beautiful upstate of South Carolina and in charge of this award-winning production. The great Alonzo sits behind the board answering your phone calls and providing commentary that only the great one can bring on a daily basis. We're glad to have you along for the ride. I, Zoe, have a question. I was watching footage yesterday, and I'm going to be real. I do not even know what sporting event it came from. But somebody sent me some footage on Twitter. 2 years ago, in the midst of the AAFL run, the American Association of Football League, or what, I don't remember what it was called. Anyway, the St. Louis whatevers they were developed a really, really good fan experience. Like they were building a culture around that football team in St. Louis before that league folded, courtesy of mediocre numbers and the pandemic hitting at the same time. But they got very popular at one point because St. Louis fans worked together to build a beer snake at every game. Of course, a beer snake being you take your cup, you finish your beer, you stack it onto another beer, onto another beer, onto another beer, onto another beer, and you create a long line of stacked cups. And the St. Louis fans were drinking enough beer to create beer snakes that were like dozens of rows long in a large arena. And it got so popular, like every time there was an AAFL game featuring St. Louis, at some point during the commentary, they would cut to a camera shot of just how big the beer snake would get. And during games, they would check back in to see how long the beer snake had gotten. In fact, it became such an icon of the AAFL and of the team in St. Louis that for one game, the commissioner of the AAFL actually went to a St. Louis game, went into the stands, drank his own beer at his own game, and contributed a cup to the beer snake. It was great fun had by all. It was entertaining. It was engaging. And it was something the fans could do to build a little culture and a little identification around that team. Well, I received video from a sporting event. I think it was a soccer match, though I could be wrong, where a handful of dudes in a section, began to build a beer pyramid, if you will, where instead of stacking the cups in a snake, they would drink a beer, turn the cup upside down. And so there were, I'm estimating, a row of about 30 cups, within a row of 29 cups stacked on top of that. 28
Was this
cups.
just like two dudes, or were there more than that? Because that's a lot.
This was like a whole section pitching in cups. Yeah.
All right.
But you get the whole section drinking beers, and then after that, the rest they start handing the beers down to the cups down, the empty cups down, to be stacked in the beer pyramid. Well, these guys constructed a beer pyramid that was 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall. I mean, it's a good-sized beer pyramid. Well, there was another fan in the audience who did not appreciate the craftsmanship, the artistry that went into building this pyramid, this tribute to hops. This other fan walked over to the pyramid, acted as if he was going to assist in the pyramid construction, and instead Lonzo took his hand and just knocked over the entire beer pyramid. Now, I'm not saying that you have to love the concept of a beer pyramid. If I go to a sports ball game, I'm there to watch the sports ball, right? I'm there to watch the basketball, the baseball, the soccer, the football, whatever I'm there for. That being said, if people go to the game and they're having a little fun and they're enjoying themselves at a social event that they paid for, they are not obligated to enjoy the game the way that you demand that they do, and decide to construct a beer pyramid. This guy walks over, knocks down the pyramid, and then just walks away. My question for you, Lonzo, is, if you are the constructor, the architect, the engineer of the pyramid, and you have put enough time into it that you have built it up to be 4 or 5 feet tall. It was not blocking anybody's view. It was not in anybody's way. It was just there. And this guy walks over and knocks over your pyramid like that jerk kid who used to knock down your sandcastle on the beach and then never got reprimanded by his parents. Lonzo, what's the best revenge for you there? How are you getting revenge for the demolition of the effort that went into and the physical structure of a 4-foot tall beer pyramid?
I don't know, man. This is difficult. I'm surprised that this didn't turn violent. Aren't you surprised about that? I mean, would the guys just kind of look down sadly after it was knocked? That's what they did?
Yes. They just kind of looked like that because, again, like he knocked out like a swath of the corner and then it was just like dominoes, right? Like the rest of the beer pyramid fell like dominoes and they just kind of looked down at it sadly, like, aw, right? And so I got to thinking, and I realized there's one of 3 different reactions that are available to you there. Reaction number 1 for the destruction of your beer pyramid and all the love and conspiracy. After you, sir. This music plays. I shut up.
All right, so here's what they did. They did all this. This guy was a plant. This guy walked in, knocked things over, just so they could get sympathy, just so they could get video plays. Because, you know, what's the world about right now, Rob?
Clicks, baby.
It's about clicks and it's about views. This whole thing is a work, as most things in life are. They set the whole thing up. This guy's one of their boys because my experience with people who have had enough alcohol to build such a thing probably are, ready to throw guys. And this guy wouldn't have made it very far after he knocked it over. So it's a setup. Without a doubt, it's a setup.
Ladies and gentlemen, everything's a work. For those of you who don't know what a work is, all right, because, Lonzo and I use a lot of wrestling terminology, as only the best sports talk radio show hosts do. A work in wrestling is when something is done that is made to look like it is not a part of the show, even though it is a part of the show. So it might be a wrestler who comes out to the ring and says a bunch of awful stuff to disparage the company he works for. It might be a situation where a wrestling match is made to look as if the ending was controversial, even though it was scripted from the beginning. They try to fool you into believing that something uber dramatic is not a part of the show when they had it planned the entire time. And if you fall for it, you become a mark, right? It's old carnival terms. You become a mark. You become a guy that they know they can fool to get money out of you. And as far as Lonzo is concerned, there are no shoots, brother. Everything is a work, brother. And don't work yourself into a shoot, brother. Signed, HH.
Nothing is real, including birds.
Correct. Birds are a work. Birds are a work. They're not real. They're government drones. Listen, there's 3 reactions. There's 3 reactions if you build that pyramid and guy comes over and knocks it down, right? Reaction number 1 is to do nothing at all, right? To let the guy walk away and just go, how sad and pathetic your life must be that you hate fun so much that you would go out of your way to destroy the fun of others. It's sad. It's pathetic. I feel bad for you. Here's the problem. If someone is in that portion of their life, right? If somebody is in the portion of their life where they hate fun so much, it doesn't matter if you feel bad for them because they don't feel anything, right? They don't feel anything. You can go, I feel bad that you hate fun. They don't care. There's no negative consequences for them. They have accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. in ruining the fun for other people, and they walk away satisfied with that, saying, I feel bad for you. It doesn't matter, right? They don't care how you feel. That's the point. So there are two other responses available on the table. Response number 2, Lonzo, is you fight the guy, right? You go, you need to get punched. Sometimes a dude just needs to take 5 across the face to realize that you're a bad person. So option number 2 is you square up with the guy, right? You give him the old chest poke and you go, hey man, you are not going to ruin my fun like that for free. And while it's probably going to get me in trouble, you deserve to get Tommy fammed across the face. Option number 3, Lonzo, is, well, we got to start another beer pyramid and I need another cup. Whoops. Oops. Sorry about that. And douse the guy in the beer that he hates so much. And I got to tell you, I think this is one of those times that I can say, I don't know what I would do. If you think about this, you had a dumb project, I acknowledge, but a project nonetheless that brought together an entire section of people of all walks of life, conservatives, liberals, black, white, Asian, Native American. You had religious people, non-religious people, Christians, Muslims, Jews, everybody sitting together in that section who worked together to down gallons of brewskis and build up this pyramid. And one guy decided to crap all over the project that brought an entire section of demographically diverse people together in a project. That guy's got to pay, Lonzo. That guy's got to pay. You have just ruined what we are all trying to accomplish in America. The American dream is all of us coming together to work to better ourselves. Here's a project that these fans all came together to work on, and then one guy decided, I don't like fun, I ruin it. That guy's got to pay, Lonzo. He's got to.
I'm going to add another option here. Option number 4 is those guys go, bro, I guess we got to start all over again, and then they continue drinking.
I mean, yeah, no, the third option is to ignore it. And you know, what's the best revenge is a life well lived, right? I got to think at that point, I'm turning to the rest of the section and I'm going twice as high, twice as wide, twice as tall, twice as thick. We're building back. We're building taller. We're building wider. We're building deeper. We are about to construct the second wall visible from space. And it's going to take all of us to do it. But if you believe, and I believe, that we as football fans, as Americans, can come together to put our differences aside, to ignore that which divides us and embrace that which unites us, we can build a pyramid that will be seen from space and will live on in the history of this stadium. We can do this. And Lonzo, I'm staring that guy in the eyes the entire time I build it.
Oh, wow.
I wish I had I got to get some patriotic music for such an occasion, because that was like Bill Pullman Independence Day type delivery there.
I got to tell you, I've been giving speeches a long time. I've spoken at different charity events for different philanthropical groups. I have given multiple speeches at different sporting events. I have emceed multiple events for the Greenville Triumph. I have emceed multiple events for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. I have emceed multiple events for the people here in Pensacola back when I used to work for the Ice Flyers and the Blue Wahoos, the hockey and the baseball team here. I've given a lot of speeches, and I have given a lot of speeches that have been about some pretty important stuff. And I have given a lot of speeches about pretty important stuff to rooms full of hundreds and hundreds of people. I have never felt as in the moment delivering a message that the world needed as I did during this random ass Friday morning radio segment about a hypothetical wall of beer cups that I would build simply, Lonzo, with plastic and pettiness. I don't apologize. I
got nothing. You can't top that.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, Ryan Day is the head coach of the Lonzo Ohio State University Buckeyes. And yesterday, old Ryan Day made a comment that has got some college football fans' knickers and a twist. I'm going to tell you what it is, and we're going to see how Lonzo reacts to it live on the air when we come back. My name is Rob Brown. He is the great one, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Your one-stop shop for sports betting insight. It's MGM Tonight on the BetQL Network. Tonight at 7, only on The Fan
Upstate.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on The Fan.
Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen.
MGM Tonight is the red zone for
I gotta
and
go
hardcore
too.
sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest.
All right, I'm back. We have commercials in the stream, though. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Bill Simmons said, MJF is unbelievable. This is mid-80s Roddy Piper level of performance. He's not wrong. Glad you asked, Keegan, because that's exactly what we're about to talk about. Correct. Wait. What now? Right. Yeah. Oh, but then you put the, got it. Okay. Got it. Hey, a little Zydeco holdover from back in Mardi Gras in February. I like it. I like it. The music of my people, South Carolina. Oh, no. Listen, I'm not coming at you at all. I genuinely want your opinion. Like, I genuinely want your opinion. I want to know. By the way, you need to unmute yourself on the stream if you don't mind, because the people can't hear your sultry voice. Ryan Day is the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. That would be Lonzo Squad. Well, yesterday, Ryan Day said something that got a lot of play in the college football coaching circles. Ryan Day said the Buckeyes have been gathering information by talking to recruits. And by the way, this comes from the website cleveland.com. Day said the Buckeyes have been gathering information by talking to recruits and their families and getting a sense of what other schools might be discussing with NIL deals. He said he believes right now top shelf quarterbacks require about $2 million in NIL money. Major offensive tackles and edge rushers are about $1 million. If you can't match that, other teams might have a chance to pluck key players from your roster. Day told the assembled potential NIL donors that every player on the team could go in the transfer portal when this season ends, and that field calls from other schools who might be offering NIL deals. Players may feel they have to take that money to help their families, end quote. Then goes on to say Nick Bromberg, writing for Yahoo Sports, he says, quote, Day's comments make it very reasonable to think that Ohio State quarterback and 2021 Heisman finalist C.J. Stroud is easily making over $1 million in endorsement deals ahead of the 2022 season. Rose Bowl star wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba is also likely making $1 million or more in what could be his final college season. The ability for players to get endorsement deals is seen as a major factor for so much player movement this offseason. Players have realized they can position themselves for better endorsement opportunities through companies owned by boosters at other schools, and with the ability to now transfer without sitting out a year, many are exploring their options, even if it's still technically against NCAA rules for a player to be recruited by the potential of more endorsement money. But the NCAA's lack of clear guidelines and enforcement regarding players' image rights have made policing the issue nearly impossible. And as college football enters its second season of players being able to make money off their own image rights, the long-time power structure of the sport has shifted mightily in the last year. Coaches and teams once wielded all the power, with players unable to freely make money under NCAA rules and unable to switch schools without sitting out a year or a waiver from the NCAA. Now players and recruits are realizing the power that they wield to earn money from boosters and other business entities. And the recruiting side of that, as you likely know, was the impetus for the feud between Alabama's Nick Saban and Texas A&M's Jimbo Fisher in May, after Saban said that A&M had, quote, bought, end quote, every player in its 2022 recruiting class through name, image, and likeness deals. Fisher, who said Wednesday that he's moved on from the beef, called Saban a narcissist in response and said that Saban's comments were, quote, despicable, end quote. So, Lonzo, Ryan Day has said, and he said it to a room full of boosters, that if he wants to keep the roster together at Ohio State, that he believes it's going to take about $13 million in NIL money. Let me give you my thoughts on it, and then I want to see what you say, Lonzo. My thoughts on it are this. A lot of people got up in arms, right? 13 mil for players. How spectacularly unbelievable. And yes, it does sound shocking. Why? Because we've never heard language like that before. And by language like that, I mean for the players, right? But I don't know if you have. I have many times in my career been to these types of events, these types of rallies, these types of events where head coaches at major universities sit in front of a room full of rich people and talk about how great the program is and how great the school is and how great those boosters are and how they need mucho dinero if they want to keep it there. This is not a new pitch. College football coaches for years have been sitting in front of rooms full of millionaires and saying, hey, look, if you want this program to remain this program, if you want this program to get top-tier recruits, if you want this program to be able to maintain its power in college football, and if you want this program to have any chance at ever bringing you another natty, you need to start forking over cash. There is only one thing that has changed. And the only one thing that has changed is the destination of the money. It is no longer going to a place where Alabama can build a multi-million-dollar recruiting facility, use it for 2 years, abandon it, and build a larger, more multi-million-dollar recruiting facility. Instead, if you want the players to come there, it is not about who can provide them with the nicest golf simulator and water slide in the facility. It is now who can facilitate their ability to pay for their parents to live in a better place, to take care of their kids, to take care of their brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles, who can provide them the best opportunity to have financial liquid assets when they graduate college, especially for those who end up not making it in the National Football League. There is only one difference between what Ryan Day is doing and what Ryan Day has said versus the way that college football has worked for decades. It's the same ask to the same people for the same amount of money. The only thing that has changed is the destination. What are your thoughts, Lonzo?
All right. First of all, for the people out there who actually believe that I'm going to take the side of a team that I root for when it's something that I believe is not right, you don't know me. So I don't care if it's my team or not. I have two major problems with this. First of all, according to the vague NCAA rules, whatever they are, the college itself, especially probably the coaches, are not supposed to have an influence over the NIL things. And if you're addressing possible people who are putting money in, and he named a price, you put a price out there. So he's saying, this is how much you guys need to pay these guys to keep them here. So he's directly influencing what is going to happen and how the players are going to get paid. And this is a problem. It really, either the colleges, just go ahead and say the colleges can recruit with NIL. That's what they're doing anyway. Don't come out there and say that they can't do it, because that's exactly what they're doing. So just go ahead and get rid of that stupid rule anyway and say highest bidder, because that's what it is. And you're trying to act like it's not. I'm talking about the NCAA, but that's exactly what it is. It's the highest bidder. And just quit pretending. Quit pretending. Just go ahead and let the coaches come out in public and say, hey, yeah, we're talking to these businesses, telling them how much money, because that's what he just did.
So a couple of things here.
Keegan thinks that it brings sanctions. No, it won't. It will not. Because if it did bring sanctions to Ohio State, a lot of other schools are in trouble. And they can all go back and say, hey, the rule doesn't say I can't really do this, and because the rules are so vague, they can get around it, which is why they were written that way.
So a few things. Number one, keep in mind that the NCAA's rules regarding NIL are very thin, right? There's not a lot to them. Yes, a school cannot directly recruit via NIL. And Ryan Day is not directly recruiting via NIL. Now, here's the problem, or at least the problem that I told you was going to happen when the NIL discussion really gained traction about 4 or 5 years ago, and the NCAA decided to barely act at all. The problem with rules, I'm a big board game guy, right? Like I'm a big tabletop role-playing game guy, big D&D guy. And I am also a DM. I run these games. And one thing that you will notice is I use my exceptional levels of nerditude to try to make a point here, is that you can come to the table with a group of people that are playing in your game, and you can sit, Lonzo, and you can pore over the rules of your game. All right. You can pore over the rules of your game, and you can write down all the rules, and you can write them down fervently, and you can pore through them and make sure you have all your bases covered. Somebody at that table is going to find a way around the rules without breaking the rules. Now, just like in literally everything else, in local government, in national government, federal government, in the legal system, in the justice system, in business, online, in games, board games, whatever, that's how the process works, right? The process is you write down the initial rules of the game, and then you play the game. And somebody, somewhere, is going to come up with a workaround that allows them to flaunt the rules without directly breaking them. And then you go, okay, we got to close that loophole, right? We got to close that loophole. And now that loophole is closed. And then somebody else is going to go, okay, that loophole is closed. Now I got to go find another loophole. And they're going to go, okay, I can't break this rule, but if I do this and then do that and say this over here, then I have exploited that rule without breaking that rule, right? And that is just an arms race. It is a cat and mouse game that gets played in everything. It gets played in the business world. It gets played in the legal world. It gets played in the politics world. It's just how the world works. So the NCAA, in opening up the floor for NIL a year and a half ago, wrote down their initial rules. Now, I don't think they did enough. I don't think they did a great job poring over the rules. I think they came to the table with a very, very thin, hollow list of rules. But they said schools cannot directly recruit schools cannot directly recruit using NIL. Ryan Day didn't do that. All Ryan Day said is, we estimate, based on what we are hearing from contacts in other places, that this is the average NIL money being given to a star quarterback. This is the average NIL money being given to a star offensive tackle or defensive end. This is the amount of money being given to a star wide receiver. And if we want to have a team that is able to bring in star quarterbacks and star tackles and ends and star wide receivers, we now know the amount of money that is going to take on average. So, dear boosters, rich people with more money than they know what to do with, if you want this school to be competitive, that's what we need you guys to come up with in the NIL department. Like I said, the only difference between the game being played today and the game being played 5 years ago is where that $13 million ends up, right? It used to end up in coaching bonuses. It used to end up in new equipment. It used to end up in new athletic facilities, in new lockers, in new amenities, and recruiting trips. It was estimated, I saw the number the other day. Somebody deep dived into Georgia's recruiting cost for this year. I want to say it was the Athletic. They jumped into recruit. Do you know what it cost Georgia to recruit their 2020 recruiting class that had a large part in winning last year's national championship? About $3 million. All right. It cost them $3 million to put together the recruiting class that was a massive part of last year's national championship. $3 million on the table. Millions of dollars is not new to college football. Anybody who still thinks, and I say this with all the respect that I can muster, anybody who still thinks this game is pure, and this game is innocent, and this game is free of all the financial obligations, responsibilities of the National Football League, you're naive, bless your heart. You're wrong, bless your heart. This is a massive game. $13 million coming in from boosters to an organization like Ohio State is not new. Ryan Day standing in front of a room full of people and threatening them with, hey, we need 13 mil if you want Ohio State to continue to be competitive at the national level. It is not new. This has all happened. Like I said, there's one difference, and it is the destination of that money, nothing else. Keegan says, it sounds like this could bring sanctions against the school. I'm honestly not sure how it wouldn't. I'll tell you how it wouldn't. He didn't break any rules, right? Now, also keep in mind that a lot of the NIL rules are state by state, right? Florida, for instance. Florida has restrictions on NIL that Ohio does not have, right? The Ohio state legislature stayed out of it. The Florida legislature went very hands-on. So Miami and Florida State and Florida have a much different approach to NIL. You will notice you have not really heard Mike Norvell. You have not really heard Billy Napier. You've not really heard anybody coaching at any school in Florida make a comment like this. Why? Because they are much more regulated via state legislatures as to what they can and can't do. But the NCAA put the power in the hands of the states to make their decision. Ohio State, the state of Ohio, very loosely regulated NIL rules. And so Ryan Day can, just like he'd say, we need 13 mil to be a new recruiting building. We need 13 mil to buy a new plane to have our guys travel. We need 13 mil to build a new indoor practice facility. He can still say that. Now he's just saying we need 13 mil if you want to have a roster together that averages what the average NIL costs are everywhere else to keep a national championship team together. Like I said, Zoe, I've said it before. I'll get your thoughts and then we'll take a break. The only difference that is now in existence from 5 years ago, the only difference is the players get a money. And if it feels to me, and I don't say this with any level of disrespect, but it feels to me as if you have a problem with it, considering nothing else has changed, The only variable, the only thing you can have a problem with is that players get money now. That's it.
Yeah, okay. Not true. You can have
Okay.
a problem with the fact that they're not supposed to openly recruit using NIL, and that's exactly what he did, and he put a price on it. You know, if you are talking to a nice lady on the corner of the street, you
What?
can talk.
What?
You,
No,
you
keep
can
going.
you can talk to that nice lady as long as you want. But when a price is negotiated, that's when the police can step in and get you for solicitation. Just saying. That's the only example that popped in my mind. I don't know why, but that it's the oldest profession, so it's the one that you go to, I guess, in this sort of thing. But he put the price out there. That's why he's being taken to task. He could have said everything without saying, this is how much money we need to keep these people.
Had you told me when I rolled out of bed this morning that someone today was going to make a comparison between Ryan Day and a hooker, I would have believed you. Had you told me Lonzo was going to compare Ryan Day and a hooker, I would not have believed you. But ladies and gentlemen,
by the way, I didn't
it's
compare.
Friday.
I didn't compare him to the hooker. It's more a comparison to the pimp.
Talking to a quote, if you are talking to a nice lady on the street corner.
She could be nice. You don't know.
About every 6 months, ladies and gentlemen, Lonzo drops a line on me that becomes my new favorite thing that Lonzo's ever said. Today is that day. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'm probably just going to make more jokes about hookers in college football. Thanks, Lonzo. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Golf cart.
Mm-mm-mm. 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 The Rocky theme song stuck in my head for no reason. If you're talking to me, I can't hear you. Now I can.
Are you flying high now?
Flying high now.
Yeah, Trey, Trestle would be good because those pants and stuff that were traded, it wouldn't be against the NIL. I don't think.
Well, it was tattoos,
gold.
wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but they traded like gold pants for the tattoos.
That's right. That's right. They gave like memorabilia.
And he covered it up, but he wouldn't have to cover it up now. Is barter okay in NIL? I suppose it is, isn't it?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
It has monetary value. It's technically a sponsorship because it's a tattoo. So it's like you're a walking billboard after. So I don't know. All right, let's see if this worked this time.
This guy on Twitter just said, The Miz is a better promo than MJF. What just happened? Another issue?
It's doing the same thing. I'm gonna save it as a different file. This might be an Omni thing. All right, go. You didn't hear the liner.
Oh, away we go, putting a bow on our number 2 right here on the Fan Upstate. This is the Rob Brown Show. Let's check the text line. I have neglected the text line so far this morning, and I apologize for that. So let's run through a bunch of them. Texter says, Lonzo's hooker analogy is a great analogy for NIL. Listen, I'm not arguing that this is an exchange of money for goods and or services. I get it. Do you already regret making that analogy?
I sat here and contemplated whether I should use it or not.
You did. You nailed it.
There are times when I actually think before I talk.
It's a great analogy. It's a genuinely good analogy. I am not arguing that goods and services are not being exchanged for money. And Lonzo makes a great point. You just can't talk about it openly, right? You can understand it. You can both know what the conversation's about. You can even theoretically say, my goodness, I would pay $100 for whatever gratifying act right this second out loud. And then somebody else could come to you and go, I'm really good at performing said act. Let's go get a drink, right? You both know what's happening, but you never actually talked about it. It's a great analogy. It's a spot-on analogy. All right. Texas says, Rob, I learned from Stranger Things that Dungeons and Dragons was satanic. Well, I also think Tim Tebow is bad at football, and Lonzo has told me before that puts me in a certain category. So, all right, let's see what else we got. Texter says, Zoe's opinion on everything. It's fixed. It's a work. I'm not saying everything, but like lots of things.
This show is not a work. It's free flowing and definitely a shoot at all times.
It's a shoot, brother. Texas said, I'm not sure why beer companies or concessions don't plant people in crowds to build beer snakes and inspire more beer sales. They will now, right? I mean, like, beer snakes and pyramids have become a thing. And I'll tell you this, Lonzo, on the ranking of things that fans do at games, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, beer snakes and pyramids rank way above the Wave on the list of things that people participate in games. The Waves is terrible. The Wave needs to go away. Pyramids and beer snakes can stay. They absolutely can. Texas says people in this area will throw themselves in front of a train for a billionaire, so nothing surprises me. That goes back to the David Tepper discussion. And yeah, I will say one thing that has shocked me through all these discussions since the start of the drama surrounding the Rock Hill facility, I am genuinely surprised at the number of people who are pro David Tepper in all of this. I am honestly surprised at the number of people who are pro Tep and consider Tep the good guy. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I disagree with you. I'm saying I don't agree at all. I'm saying I don't understand how you can watch David Tepper screw over Rock Hill, South Carolina, and do so to the point that he's willing to put one of his most profitable, one of his most well-known companies in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy rather than spend a fraction of his accumulated wealth to finish that building and still think that David Tepper is the good guy. I don't understand it. I really don't. Fan, Warriors should be concerned. Tatum is first team NBA and had his worst shooting performance in months. That's also true. We didn't talk about that. I'll address that coming up the next hour of the show. And finally, Fan, few things in sports give me as much joy as watching the Warriors lose. Lonzo keeps texting the show. Hour number 3 just around the corner on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Made for upstate sports junkies. You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the...
All right, just to let you know, I've tried a couple times to save it on net storage and I cannot, which means I'm going to have to save it to the desktop for now. So in order to do any editing, if you are going to do that, you'll probably have to pull it from the podcast.
Okay.
That's probably where you pull it anyway. I don't know if you pull it from...
You mean pull it off of Omni?
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it. No, I pull it out of the folder, but I can pull it off Omni. That's fine.
It's the only way I can figure out how to actually save it without it being corrupted.
Burn out, burning out. Burn out, burn out. I listened to a a playlist of walkout songs last night on the way home and like had a genuinely good time doing it.
You mean actual walkout songs for baseball?
No, like wrestling walkout songs.
Oh, wrestling walkout.
Yeah,
okay.
Intro music. And like you forget how many great wrestling songs get like forgotten about. Like Samoa Joe's NXT song was incredible. Elite Era, their walkout music was phenomenal. Undisputed Era, sorry.
Yeah, don't get the companies mixed up. You might cause people to be angry. You didn't miss anything, Tayshaun. Nothing interesting happened. Nothing at all. If you see Rob look over his shoulder every once in a while, it's because the closet monster is real.
Yeah.
And he can hear it clawing in the back of his head.
Keegan said, do you remember when they put out a CD of the best walkout songs? They have playlists of them on Spotify. All of those CDs are a Spotify playlist now. Breaking news, Phillies fire manager Joe Girardi. I saw that, and then Keegan fired back with, no one cares about baseball, Skrilla. That's not true, Keegan. I care about baseball. You know why I care about baseball, Lonzo?
I do, because you have a nationally syndicated radio show on Saturdays that has to do with baseball.
That is correct.
And the only one on this station with a nationally syndicated show, which is awesome to be the first and only.
Yes, indeed, it is. I'm not going to argue with that. It's pretty damn awesome.
If I could bottle my pride right now, it would be very expensive.
I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for Lonzo. That's actually not a joke.
No, it is a
Hey,
joke.
all of
That's
this
fine.
stuff, listen, all this stuff started happening after we got on the show together, buddy. That's a
All
fact.
right.
I'm not even being sarcastic. I genuinely mean that.
All right, fine. I'll take the credit.
You should.
Gosh.
You should.
So the problem with making space on the thing that we're having trouble with is as soon as we make space, other people are taking the space.
Yeah. Yeah, I told Chris the other day. I went through because I'm petty and curious.
Well, so did I. I know who the two biggest offenders are.
I started going through and looking at other personalities' files, and I told Chris, I was like, I'm not saying I'm not the problem, but I'm the guy doing 50 and a 45, and there are guys doing 90 past me. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, you and I are mid compared to
Yeah.
the ones who, they're actually lower tier.
For the Carolinas.
I am definitely lower tier.
Only
The Fan Upstate.
Lonzo, it's been a minute, but we do have a bit of breaking news on the radio broadcast this morning. Yes, indeed, breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a smarter bettor and beat the books. Use BetQL. Go to BetQL.com. And, of course, remember that on Saturdays from 1 to 5 Eastern Time, including tomorrow, I love you tomorrow, you can listen to a very, very well done radio broadcast called Bet for the Cycle. It is a show that wins you money by giving you baseball gambling winners, hosted by former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker. It's a spectacular show. You're going to want to listen to Cody hit you with all the winners and losers. He's very good at that show.
I need some contact info for your producer because I got some tips.
Hating ass Mario.
I got some tips for him that might help him out to go at least one of the hosts. Although from what I heard yesterday, I probably, when Cody was on this fine program, I probably could help him out with that too. So,
Hating ass Mario is a good kid. He is a good kid. He's a good guy, and we give him a lot of grief. But it's one of those, we give you grief because we like you. The day we stop interacting with you is the day you need to be worried. Hating ass Mario is a good dude. Hating ass Mario, Alonzo, lost a bet to Cody on the air. and as a result of that bet, had to dress as the Crow, including face makeup, for an entire 4-hour show one day. And he did it. He came through. He was on camera with us for 4 hours dressed as the Crow. Then he doubled down, made another bet, and lost that bet, Lonzo. And the price of losing that bet was he had to go to a very nice steak restaurant in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he lives and is based out of. He had to go to a very high-class steak restaurant, though, once again dressed as the Crow, and he went through with it, put on the Crow face paint, put on the all black, and went and had a dinner with his girlfriend, who did not dump him, dressed as the Crow at the nicest steakhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. We give him grief, but my dude has my undying respect, Lonzo, for dressing as the Crow and going to a fancy steakhouse, and not just going in, having a drink, and leaving. My guy sat at the bar for half an hour waiting for his table, sat down at his table, ate a 3-course meal at his table, ate dessert at his table, and won over the waitstaff to the point that they began bringing him free shots and did not charge him for his appetizer or dessert.
All right, next bet, you got to make him go full Danhausen, including talking like Danhausen, calling everything evil.
Danhausen, coffeehausen.
And limit of 5 curses per meal.
Love it. Love it. I may put that in the rotation. All right, breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. The Philadelphia Phillies have fired manager Joe Girardi. The Phillies, 22-29, have lost 7 of their past 9. They are sitting 3rd in the NL East, 12 games behind the Mets, which, by the way, also puts them behind the Atlanta Braves, who cannot get to 500. No matter what they do, they just cannot break the 500 mark. Joe Girardi, the 57-year-old, had been in Philly for the past 3 seasons. He was 132, 141, and Philly has not made the playoffs since 2011. You'll remember Joe Girardi. He was a 14-year manager of the Marlins, Yankees, and Phillies. Ends his stint in Philly with an overall record of 1,120 and 935. Did win a World Series with the New York Yankees back in 2009. Coaching assistant Bobby Meacham was also fired by Philly. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I mentioning the Philadelphia Phillies going through a coaching change? Well, yesterday we had my Saturday co-host Cody Decker right here on the show. And you'll remember, if you heard it, and if you did not, go to our Facebook or Twitter page at facebook.com/thefanupstate or twitter.com/thefanupstate, and you can search there. We put up the segment and our interview with Cody Decker yesterday, so if you missed it, you can go there and listen to that interview. Cody said that the Philadelphia Phillies are the biggest disappointment in Major League Baseball. And he is correct. They are the biggest disappointment in Major League Baseball. They are too damn good. Too damn good right now to be as bad as they are. It makes no sense that they are as bad as they are. Their lineup's too good. Their rotation's good. They've got a half-decent bullpen that they are working with as well. It makes no sense. But again, I'm bringing it up because this is about to make the Atlanta Braves a bit worse off, right? A bit worse off. Now, I don't know what direction the Phillies go with their manager. I don't know who takes over that spot. I don't know if they bring in an internal candidate, if they have somebody that's already on the coaching staff take that role, if they go find somebody who's not in the game right now but is looking to get back in. I don't know what direction the Phillies go. Here's what I do know. What I do know is the Phillies have a really good roster. And what I do know is that the Phillies have a roster that if they find a manager who builds good team chemistry, who works well with the team, who communicates well with the team, and who gets the team all on the same page again, if he can figure that out, the Phillies are going to start shooting back up. Now, I'm not saying the Phillies are going to run down the Mets. They're 12 games back. There's a lot of games left. We're looking at still, 120 games left to be played for every team. They're still a ways back. It's not impossible. The Mets could have a collapse. The Mets could lose a couple of guys. Francisco Lindor goes down to an injury. The Mets may come back to the pace a little bit. The problem in this division now is for the Atlanta Braves, right? Problems for the Atlanta Braves. By the way, the Braves had a really good night last night out in Colorado. The bats went boom last night for the Bravos, including Travis d'Arnaud, who had himself a big day. Guillermo Heredia had himself an RBI triple. Michael Harris had a couple of RBIs. Dansby Swanson had one. Travis d'Arnaud had a 2-run homer in the top of the third and a grand slam in the top of the fifth that put the Bravos up 9-1 at that point. The bats were bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S. It can be done. It can be done. The Braves can do it. The Braves can put the ball in play. The Braves can win games. The problem is they lose a lot of dumb games, right? They lose a lot of dumb games. I go back to last weekend. They took on the Arizona Diamondbacks out in the desert. They brought up a young man to throw pitches for them named Spencer Strider. Spencer Strider is a guy that has a lot of potential. Spencer Strider is a dude that has traditionally come out of the bullpen, but they decided to throw Spencer Strider as a starter. Spencer Strider went like 6 innings and gave up 1 earned run. Now, on the scoreboard, it showed as, I think, 4 earned runs. But I watched that game. Spencer Strider gave up 1 earned run. The Braves defense fell apart. It was bad, right? Those are the types of games that the Braves just can't seem to finish. The Phillies are a good team. The Phillies are a manager who knows how to work his lineup away for being really good. And the Braves are a game and a half up on Philadelphia right now. They are a game and a half up right now on the Phillies. Sorry, 2.5 games. They are 2.5 games up on the Phillies right now. That's not good enough, okay? It is not good enough for Atlanta, defending a World Series, to be 2.5 games up on a sub-500 team that has just fired their manager. And by the way, to also now, after the last couple of days, be sitting 9.5 games back of the Mets. Now, they did make up a full game yesterday. The Mets 8-0. The Bravos got a win against Colorado. Made up a full game. It was 10.5 when we talked to Cody yesterday. It's 9.5 today. Again, plenty of time left. But you should not be fighting for second with a sub-500 team that just canned their manager a third of the way into the season, less than a third of the way into the season. That's not good enough for Atlanta. So how do they fix it? Step 1, you have got to get your pitching better. You have got to get your pitching better. You are hoping that Mike Soroka is going to be able to come back, that Mike Soroka is going to be healthy, that Mike Soroka is going to return to form. If he does, you can send Strider back into the bullpen. Strider becomes a middle reliever. You can get 2 or 3 or 4 good innings out of before you hand it over to a closer. If Mike Soroka comes back, that's a big boost. But there are other guys that also are not carrying their weight right now. Charlie Morton is a very good pitcher. We have seen Charlie Morton be a very good pitcher with the Rays, but after the Braves acquired him, he has not been the same. Tyler Matzik, got to get that guy going again. And then there are folks in the lineup. There are folks in the lineup that are not pulling their weight either. Now you got guys like Matt Olson. Matt's had a couple of dingers, right? You've had guys like Ronnie Acuna Jr., who, when he stays healthy, is putting the ball into play. But you got guys like Austin Riley. Austin Riley last year, towards going into the postseason and through the postseason, we expected that guy was going to break out and be an all-star. And he's been fine this year, but he's not the guy that the Braves thought he was last year. He's got to find his stride. Marcell Ozuna. It seems like Ozuna is a dude that either sends the ball into low Earth orbit or disappears from the lineup entirely. Adam Duvall needs to be one of the most productive bats in this lineup. Instead, he is having a career bad year. A career bad year right now. There are guys that the Braves need to step up that just aren't. It's really that simple. Like, I hate to be cliche, right? This is the point as an analyst that I would love to be able to sit here and go, here's exactly what's wrong. You need to move this guy from the 3-hole down to the 5-hole. You need to move this guy into the cleanup spot. Defensively, I'd like to see more shifts or left shifts. I'd like to see, this guy move from center to left because he's got a little less range or whatever. But it really comes down to the guys that the Braves trusted this year to be the guys that the Braves trusted last year are not being that. And, you're going to have, we talked about the Celtics earlier today. Jason Tatum did not show up in game 1 for the C's. All right. He just didn't. So what they do? They leaned on other guys. They leaned on Marcus Smart. They leaned on Al Horford. And those guys stepped up and maxed out and replaced the production they lost with Jason Tatum. The Braves don't have that right now. The Braves don't have that guy that's going, okay, Adam Duvall is supposed to be a dude. He was a dude last year running up to the World Series. He was the dude in the postseason. He's supposed to be a dude, but right now he's not duding. And if he's not going to dude, then I got to dude. They don't have the guy. They don't have that guy that is stepping up to be the dude. It's really that simple to me, right? You've got names, expected to be names that just are not making the highlight reel. And as long as they continue to fail to make the highlight reel, the Braves are going to continue to float around 3 or 4 games below 500. They're going to continue to float around and flirt with giving away second in the division and a wild card spot to the Phillies. Because again, if the Phillies hit on a cat to replace Joe Girardi that has any semblance of idea of how to manage that lineup, the Phillies will jump the Braves in 3 weeks. All right? 3 weeks. So we will circle back around June 22nd. We'll circle back and we'll see where the Braves stand. And if they don't have a couple of dudes that start to dude, they're going to get dropped into third in a very, very average NL East. And I'm giving it credit. You got the Mets, and then you got a bunch of sub-500 ball clubs. You got the Mets, and then you got a bunch of other teams that just ain't getting it done. It's a bad division. But there's an extra wild card spot available this year. If the Braves want it, they better have some dudes answer the bell now. If they don't, we had a fun 1-year run as the World Series champs. We won't be back in the playoffs to defend it, which would be a damn shame to not even get the chance to go to the playoffs and try for a miracle run. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right this second, Kevin Durant decided to go on a rant about how guys in broadcasting are making sports worse. And he's right. I agree with Kevin Durant? ? I'll address that when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate.
Sound off on the preferred home service.
I have to tinkle.
Okay, be right back, stream. this.
All right. We're talking about eclairs right now because Rob has asked the question, is an eclair a donut? And I think an eclair is a donut. But the definition is an eclair is a pastry made with shodo, C-H-O-U-X. I don't know. C-H-O-U-X, I think is choux. Eclair, I believe, is French, so choux probably is too. Filled with a cream and topped with flavored icing. The dough, which is the same as that used for profiterole, is typically piped into an oblong shape with a pastry bag and baked until it's crisp and hollow inside. How's it not a donut, though? I mean, I don't. So if it's not,
I think technically a donut is a pastry as well.
Right. So if an eclair is not a donut, then neither is a jelly-filled donut.
Let's see. A donut,
because it's the same thing except it's round.
Actually, I don't know if okay, what is the wiki? What's the definition of a pastry? A pastry is a dough of flour, shortening, and water used as a base in covering in baked dishes such as pies. The word pastry suggests many kinds of baked products made from ingredients such as flour, sugar, blah, blah, blah. Small tarts and other sweet baked products are called pastries. So I would say eclairs are pastries, donuts are pastries, but they are not each other. An eclair is not a donut is not an eclair, but both of them are a pastry.
What's the turnover?
Turnover is also a pastry.
Yeah. Okay. Is a turnover closer to an eclair than it is?
All right, here I Wikipedia turnover, and here's what it is. It's an American rock band from Virginia Beach, formed in 2009.
Real sports talk for real sports fans.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon.
The Fan.
Upstate.
You got to join us on the stream, folks, because the sidebar conversations get weird. They get weird. Like. But is it the Madre came back on Fridays. It's donut day, and every Friday the Madre takes the little nephew to go get a donut. Well, because I'm what's the word, fat, I like donuts. So she brought me back,
of food. You're a connoisseur of food.
Yes, I'm a connoisseur of too much food. I consume more food than I need. Anyway, she brought me back an eclair because I'm a big eclair guy if the eclair is well done. And this is just a little local bakery. Anyway, she brought back the eclair, and I asked the question in the chat sarcastically, is an eclair a donut, right? Does eclair count as a donut? Is a donut required to be round? Because if you take an eclair, which is rectangular, and you smush it down into a circle, it would be a cream-filled donut at that point, right? So is an eclair technically a donut? That led to, during the break, me and Lonzo rapidly searching the internet for the definition of eclair, definition of donut, then the definition of a pastry to find out, or like all donuts are pastries, but not all pastries are donuts, but is an eclair?
Which, by the way,
pastry, and then searching if a turnover could theoretically be considered a donut. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of compelling conversation that you are missing if you are not on the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate or on YouTube by searching The Rob Brown Show.
This is what the internet was designed for, this and weird cat videos.
Yeah. See, all of you guys, the world's doing it wrong, all right? The world is doing, once again, if people would just listen to me and Lonzo, we could solve a lot of the world's problems. Don't go on the internet to fight about politics. Don't go on the internet to fight the culture wars. Go on the internet to find out the answer to questions like, is an eclair a donut? Things that will actually make the world better. Okay? Can we solve the same page?
This is a question that, despite your ideologies and whatever, if you're out with the in-laws or, just out hanging out with the boys, you can ask this question. And it's a question that's, although
great question.
It won't be divisive. It will be one where people are, even though they may be on one side or the other, they will definitely contemplate it, and it will be a good topic. And at the end, chances are you'll go buy yourself an Eclair, a donut, or a turnover.
Listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, and I'm not even being facetious when I say this. Food discussions are the best way to get to know somebody, right? Now, that is not to say there are not contentious food questions. I have to, this is not even a joke. I mean this. The girlfriend and I cannot talk about hot dogs, right? We can't talk about hot dogs because she is an upstate native, right? She is from here. She's lived here her whole life. She's an upstate native. And to her, a hot dog comes with chili, mustard, and onions. It's not a question. It's a statement to her. And we got into it about that topic one day. And the conversation went from like, haha, LOL, ain't this funny, to, dude, you're wrong. I don't want to hear another word about it. Like both directions. I'm like, no, listen, you say what you want. You're describing a chili dog. We went to her family's house one day for a little cookout, get together dinner, and they made hot dogs, right? And I asked her stepmom for a hot dog, and she brought me a hot dog with chili and onions and mustard on it. And I, being an expert, fluent in the language of sarcasm, said to her, no, I just wanted a hot dog, right? Because to her, that's what she gave me. To me, she gave me a chili dog. She knew it, I knew it. And the lady friend looked at me like, you're the worst person. So a great first date question is an Eclair a donut? A great first date question is a hot dog a sandwich? To which, by the way, Lad chimed in on the stream with a great answer. Eclair is to donut as hot dog is to sandwich. It is, but different, which is correct. It's a great first date question. What is not a first date question is a hot dog have chili on it? That's not a first date question.
Another thought just popped in my mind. Do you buy Eclairs at the donut shop?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So doesn't that kind of make them?
The
you don't go to the Eclair shop, do you?
Right, you don't go to the donut shop. You go to the bakery, right? Because it doesn't only sell donuts. It sells pastries,
Dunkin'
and it sells rolls
Donuts, Krispy Kreme donuts. There are some specifically for donuts.
Fair enough.
And if you went to Krispy Kreme or you went to Dunkin' or whatever, Tim Hortons or something like that, can you get an Eclair there? Because that would prove, I think, sort of, that an Eclair is a donut.
Great question. All right, let me get into this. Kevin Durant is a really, really good basketball player and a really, really bad user of the internet. Speaking of the devil. Great basketball player, not so great on the internet, hence all the burner jokes that have been going around, rightfully so, for many moons. KD, however, I believe the expression, even a blind squirrel can find a nut. KD decided he was going to have a run on Twitter, and he dropped a great call. Stephen A. Smith yesterday said, quote, Steph Curry changed basketball for the better while MJ changed it for the worse. He said Michael Jordan is responsible as much as anybody for changing the game for the worse. Kevin Durant replied to him, Lonzo, and said, quote, my theory is that guys like Steve, Skip, and Shannon have changed the game for the worse. Players like Stephen and Michael can only push the game further. Kevin Durant saw the opportunity. Kevin Durant took a run at Stephen and Skip and Shannon, and it was absolutely spectacular because he is spot on. Those are the types of dudes that tell you how they think the game should be played. Those are the types of dude that tell you how they believe players should act on and off the court constantly, to the point that it impacts how the game gets played, as opposed to letting guys like Michael Jordan and Steph Curry go out there and, play the game, develop the game, evolve the game, morph the game. Every game changes over time. right? Sometimes dramatically, like football adding the forward pass, sometimes more subtly, like the last couple of years and the de-evolution of the way that pass interferences are called. Sometimes the game changes dramatically, like when Michael Jordan said, "This ain't a team game anymore. I am so damn good that it's me and 4 other guys versus y'all," and took over the league playing that way. Sometimes the game changes very subtly, like how Steph Curry has made the three-pointer much more prominent than it has ever been before in the NBA. Now, you can argue that those changes are good or bad or ugly, but the game evolves and it changes and it gets different. Skip and Shannon and Bayless and all these other cats, when they go, instead of just talking about basketball,
Well, when it comes down to the players, how dare you be great? How dare you do things that have never been done before? How dare you do that? You've made things worse because you're so great and no one can compare to that. That's ridiculous. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what Katie is saying, right?
But Katie will be wrong again because he does that.
So yeah, he'll make it worse. Like, he's going to go create 100 burner accounts to upvote his comment and get caught. He'll make it worse. But again, blind squirrel nut. He found one. These guys look at the game, say the game is not the way I want it to be. So they start bagging players, and it creates a situation where instead of talking about how good the Boston Celtics are and how impressive they looked in game 1 and how good the Warriors are and how bad they looked in game 1 and breaking that game down and talking basketball, instead, we got to get into beef between Dre and Kevin Durant because that is the way that these guys took not just basketball, but basketball broadcasting, right? It's not just that they took the game down a path. It's that they have gotten so big that they can shape the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this right now. When Steph Curry wins the NBA Finals this year, and when Steph Curry is your NBA Finals MVP, as he's going to be, book it. I'm going to go ahead and put $1 down here, Lonzo, that the day after that, do you want to bet me that we turn on the TV in the studio and we see Stephen A. Smith talking about how will this impact LeBron's legacy? You want to take that bet?
No, but I'm not trying to defend those guys, but those guys are Stephen A. and Skip and Shannon. Those guys are doing their job. They get paid a lot of money because they're good at what they do, and because they're controversial, and because whether you like them or not, if no one liked them, and if no one hated them, if they were just somewhere in the middle, like a CM Punk, if they were someone like that, then chances are they would not be on the air. They would not be everywhere, and they are.
Listen, it's on us too, right? And by us, I mean y'all, not me. All right, it's on y'all.
Couldn't be on Rob.
No, it's on y'all. It's not on me. I have actively complained about people like this for many years. That's why I'm so happy a guy like Katie finally called him out, even if I'm not a Katie guy. Big Katie fan as a basketball player, not a big Katie guy, right? But Katie's spot on. He's got a great point. It's on y'all because you know what they're doing. You know what they're doing. You know they're trolling. You know they're creating drama in places that there does not need to be drama. You know that they are working their asses off to create beef with NBA players where there does not need to be any beef. Why? So that you click the stupid button.
I don't know. I don't think Skip's working that hard. He's just naturally annoying.
He's naturally something. He's naturally something. I can't say it because the FCC is listening, but he's naturally something. All right, let's check the text line one time before we get out of here and go hit Twitter trending topics. A couple of texts that have come in over the past few minutes. Texter says, "Fan, $1 to donuts. An Eclair is not a donut. A jelly donut is a donut. It says donut in the name." No, I get it, but again,
if you take a jelly donut and you stretch it, it's an Eclair.
Or if you take an Eclair and you squeeze it, right? Like I can take a rectangular Eclair and I can shape it into a circle, at which point it's literally a cream-filled donut, right? So, like, is this all about shape, right? Because I made the argument, a hot dog is a sandwich because a sandwich is what? It's meat stuffed between two buns. Theoretically, a hot dog bun is one bun, but let's be honest, a hot dog bun is two buns that's just attached by a thin pop of bread at the bottom. A hot dog is a sandwich, and Eclair is a donut. The only thing we're arguing here is shape. That's it. That's it.
Even those weirdos who think a chili dog is a hot dog bun with chili in it, it's still kind of a sandwich. It's kind of a chili sandwich.
Yeah, but it is what it is. All right, Texter says, fan, Rob, it's okay to be wrong about what a hot dog is. After all, we hear you get things wrong almost every day. I appreciate you saying almost. To be honest with you, Texter, that's very nice of you to give me credit for almost. Texter says, so where is Eclair on your diet? It's on Shut Up, I'm on Vacation. That's where it is. It's right there underneath the rum I'm going to have later and the fried shrimp I'm going to have tonight. That's where it is. It's on I'm on vacation for 2 days, and then it's back to air-fried, unseasoned chicken breast. Get off me.
By the way, fried shrimp, if it's not breaded, I mean, depending on how it's fried, that's not, unhealthy.
Gotta be breaded. It just does. It just does. The best fried shrimp is breaded. All right. Let's see. Really love the U-neck shirt Rob is going for today. What? The U-neck shirt? What? U-neck shirt? It's
not a eunuch shirt, is it?
No.
That's a totally different kind of shirt.
That is a very different thing, and I do not understand that. I do not get it. All right, Texter,
I think you got
a
shirt under a shirt, don't you?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, and I meant to do the reveal because today, ladies and gentlemen, Greenville Liberty game day. The ladies have a match today at home. The men have a match tomorrow. I will tell you, I had a debate of conscience. I was like, yeah, like I want to see the fam, and the fam wants to see me. The little brother's got an event I want to go to. The band is playing. Like, it's a perfect weekend for me to come home, but it's going to require me to miss the Liberty and Triumph home games. We only have like 1 or 2 weekends where they both play at home back-to-back days, and I got to miss one, which was a bummer.
Yeah, but some days, Rob, you got to rock, man. You just got to.
I want to rock. I want to rock. This is correct. Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. Start your text with FAN. We'll read them on the air. What the heck? Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. It's time to end the show. We'll come back. We'll give you some parting thoughts. We'll do Twitter trending topics. And then we send Lonzo on his way to a glorious vacation for a week. That's next on The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon.
Offsides with Mark Ryan, 3 to 7 p.m. Real sports talk for real sports fans.
Only on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders with your Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. The Reds beat the Nationals 8-1 on Thursday. Reds rookie Graham Ashcraft delivered another gem, throwing 7 innings of 1-run ball. Joey Votto and Kyle Farmer each hit 3-run homers. The Braves beat the Rockies 13-6 in Denver. Atlanta with 3 runs in the second, 2 in the third, 4 in the fifth, 3 in the sixth, and 1 more in the seventh. Ian Anderson struck out 9 over 6 innings. In 10 innings, the Mariners got by the Orioles 7-6. Abraham Toro hit a tie-breaking triple in the top of the 10th. The proposed $800 million practice facility for the Panthers in Rock Hill, South Carolina is officially off the table. Team owner David Tepper's real estate company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The filing doesn't affect the Panthers or Major League Soccer's Charlotte FC. It's unclear at this point what will happen to the half-built practice facility. Download the Odyssey app and search the Fan Upstate. Then listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders, and that's your Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
From the Ingalls Market Studio. 97.7 FM Greenville.
97.1 FM Spartanburg.
And on the Odyssey app.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to get conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
So while I'm on vacation, we were talking about maybe doing some karaoke. Just because I know it would bother Rob. So what karaoke song should I do that would match my hair?
'Cause I'm a creep.
Yeah, but no, that doesn't match my hair.
I'm a weirdo.
We can maybe something like, I don't know, Robert Plant, maybe. What? I mean, look at the hair. You gotta think about that. I mean, you know.
That takes guts.
Well, when you go on stage with this kind of hair, people expect a certain kind of song. Maybe I just go up there and do
a little Frankie Valli.
What a night? Yeah, I'll do that.
Or a hip that has you hobbling.
Late
Nothing matters more than getting you back to feeling your best. As South Carolina's most preferred.
I also keep thinking of Sebastian Bach, but that's not, probably not a good idea.
A little Skid Row.
Yeah, I could do some Skid Row. Maybe I'll get up there and do some Warrant. Or White Lion. I mean, When the Children Cry.
Little Cinderella.
And actually cry while I'm doing, because I can make tears come. I could do that if I wanted to. One of those cassettes that I regret buying.
I said the wrong lyrics. That's in September. It's late December.
Yeah, if we're talking September, then we're going Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Do you remember?
Maybe I'll just get up there and do a country song and just kill it and then say country sucks and break the microphone and walk off there.
Do a little Brooks and Dunn, man. I spend most every night beneath the light of a neon moon.
What song are you singing? What song are you singing this weekend? What songs are you singing?
Let's see. I will do Take It Easy by the Eagles. One night we'll do Hotel California the other night. That me and the lead singer alternate parts on that. I'll do Tricky by Run DMC. I'll do Walk This Way by Aerosmith. I will do Jump by Criss Cross. I will do what else? Shook Me by AC/DC. Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beastie Boys. I'm trying to think what else is going to be on my plate this weekend.
So you're not going to have a voice Monday, but I won't be here to not hear it.
You won't care.
I will care because you're going to be looking at T2 like help. He's going to be like,
hey, T2, what do you think about the failure of the Braves so far this year?
Upstate a favorite.
All right, wrapping it up here on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. A couple of little bits of news and notes before we get out of here for the day. For those of you that have been following the story of Deshaun Watson, we got news this morning from Charles Robinson of the covers the NFL. He's an NFL columnist for Yahoo Sports.
And a heck of a referee.
And a heck of a referee. Oh, Lil Nate. According to Charles Robinson, Deshaun Watson offered a $100,000 settlement figure to each of the 22 women. There are now 23 lawsuits. Another one has jumped on. But before she jumped on, Deshaun offered a $100,000 settlement figure to each of the 22 women who filed civil lawsuits against him last spring, according to the most recent litigation brought against him this week. Again, according to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. He writes, Attorney Tony Busby made the claim in the 23rd civil lawsuit filed against Watson on Tuesday in a footnote pertaining to a meeting between Watson's defense attorneys and Nia Smith, the Houston cosmetologist who has brought the most recent litigation against the Browns quarterback. In the lawsuit, Busby claims that during a meeting in which Smith believed Watson lawyers were trying to intimidate her, said they plan to, quote, fight the civil cases to the fullest extent, end quote. Busby added a notation to that line, which alleged that Watson instead had attempted to settle the suits out of court. The notation states, quote, of course, we now know that Deshaun Watson offered each plaintiff $100,000 to settle their cases, but not all would accept that amount due to the aggressive non-disclosure agreement that Watson's team proposed. Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the allegation. The first outlet to report the notation yesterday evening was Pro Football Talk, who also previously reported that 18 of the original 22 accusers agreed to a global settlement, but the negotiation ultimately broke off when 4 women declined to take part. As an aside, we do know that at least at one point, Deshaun's legal counsel said that he would not settle with anything other than a global settlement. He would not settle with most or some of the women. He would settle with all of the women or none before it went to trial. Watson told reporters back in late May that no settlement talks were currently taking place in relation to any of his civil suits, which are alleging a range of sexual misconduct or assault. But multiple sources have told Yahoo Sports there were settlement dialogues between Watson's attorneys and Busby at various points after the initial 22 suits were filed. That included prior to the start of last season and in the run-up to the NFL trade deadline when the Miami Dolphins expressed interest in acquiring Watson if he were able to obtain a global settlement with all of the accusers. That attempt failed, which set the stage for Watson to be traded to the Browns nearly 5 months later. The NFL owners' spring meetings last month, Roger Goodell said the league's investigation of Watson was, quote, nearing its end, end quote, and that the determination of whether the QB violated the league's personal conduct policy would be coming sometime down the pipe. Now, here's the problem that you are going to have if you are if you are Deshaun's attorneys, if you are a Deshaun fan. The problem you're going to bump into is that this is yet one more time that Deshaun has said X and Y has been brought out as the news. It's not a great look.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
Well done, by the way. I just want to say well done. Look at that.
Broadcast professional.
He's a pro, ladies and gentlemen. All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet. And even though he's in Florida, he will still know what is going on.
It turns out they have just enough power to keep the internet on down here.
Do they?
Just enough.
Okay, maybe I'll visit someday. The first thing that's trending is Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is trending because after, what is it? I'm genuine. It's like 17 years in the league. Ryan Fitzpatrick, known as the most intellectual quarterback of quarterbacks, is retiring from the National Football League. Fitzmagic, of course, had spent time under center for 9 different National Football League teams, including starting opportunities at most of them. Fitzmagic will be missed
Now he can go do what he wants to do and join some secret society think tank because, he's that smart. Do you really think he's retired?
Yeah.
You don't I think somebody will come calling in the middle of the season.
There's a good chance. He may come out of retirement. I think he's done, but it's going to be one of those situations of we need a backup. We'll give you $11 million to come play 9 games. Are you in? And he'll go, yeah, why not? Why not?
Because he is smart, He's
very smart.
Yeah, there we go. All right, the next thing is trending is McLovin.
McLovin. No idea why it's trending. The movie that McLovin came from, which I'm blanking on the name of.
Superbad. I've never seen it, but I know about
it. It was like that generation's American Pie, less dialed in on the sexual awakening of people that age and more just the overall life experiences. It was a genuinely funny movie. It will make you uncomfortable at times, but a genuinely funny movie.
McLovin would have been 42 today if he was a real person.
Happy birthday, McLovin. From the state of Hawaii, of course.
There we go. The next thing that's trending is something we touched on earlier. Did you know it's National Doughnut Day?
It is National Doughnut Day. As funny enough, I didn't know that only because yesterday when I was posting our Facebook clips, Facebook on the publishing calendar will tell you what holidays are so you can theme your post for that. It is National Doughnut Day. And so I will say one thing about National Doughnut Day. Eclairs are donuts. Oddly shaped donuts.
Absolutely.
But donuts nonetheless.
And they're also delicious.
Phenomenal. They're very
Absolutely. Good. They are definitely a go-to.
If you're ever down in Pensacola, and at Cold Take Jim just tweeted in, he said, Pensacola is a great town. It's just a shame that people have to travel through Alabama to get to it. If you ever come down, I'm going to shameless plug a business 7.5 hours away from you. If, ladies and gentlemen, you ever find yourself in Pensacola, Florida, Jay's Bakery, chef's kiss.
All right. And the last thing that's trending is Chris Jericho.
Break the walls down. Jericho is trending, I think, because last night at a very popular country / rock and roll music venue, Jericho just showed up out of nowhere to perform some music with a band. And do you know why he was able to just show up out of thin air, Lonzo?
Because he's a professional wrestler. Or I'm sorry. He's an entertainer.
He's a wizard, Lonzo.
He is a wizard. That's a good point. The real reason why he's trending, though, is he came at MJF. Look it up.
Oh.
No time to talk about it. Look it up.
Don't mind if I do. Have a great vacation, buddy. We'll see you back here in a week and a couple of days, man. Enjoy.
I hope to make it back.
I hope you do, too.
I'm going to have a good time. Thank you.
Yeah, we got awards to win.
I'm leaving you in good hair.
Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us this week. Jim Rome up next, Mark Ryan and Diesel after that. Do not drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Have a spectacular weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday for the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
Hey, it's Mark Ryan. Join me for Offsides today at 3 on the Fan Upstate and on the Odyssey app.
All right, stream. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lonzo. Be safe, please.
I will. I'll send you video of the karaoke if I do it.
Please do.
Because I know you want it.
I know you want it. It won't end up on the Fan Upstate Facebook page.
The Phillies have lost.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that.
I'll send you footage of me also singing in public, but like in a way cooler way.
One of those things will actually happen, and that would be what Rob just said.
Fair enough. All right, dudes. See y'all next week. Thank you. Bye.